is Debbie. Welcome to my channel. This is Linda Stermer's sentencing. We did the burned and battered trial, and I'm still not convinced that the prosecution proved that she set the fire. But I mean, yeah, the circumstantial evidence did kind of prove that she was up to something. I'm just glad I wasn't on the jury. Anyway, this is her sentencing. Um, they started at 11. I guess they started at 11. It looks like there was just a lot of footage of them coming in the courtroom and stuff. I think his mom is first up to speak. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Wrong button, Debbie. Um, so we will get back to Karen Reed. We won't miss anything. We'll be able to zoom through all the sidebars and everything. I just didn't want to miss this, so I apologize to anyone that doesn't care and really wanted to watch Karen Reed, but I really didn't want to miss this. We watched the whole trial. We dealt with Wolf's arrogance, and we got to see it through to the end because that's just what we do on this channel. So.
American number two.
Consult with them? Yes, ma'am. And are you prepared?
All right.
The court calls the case of People versus Linda Stermer, 0916654. Counsel, state your appearances for the record, please.
Susan Battered for the people, Your Honor.
Morning, RG for the people. Morning, Your Honor. Wolf Mueller for the defendant.
Ross Kelly for the defendant, Your Honor.
Thank you. And ma'am, you are Linda Stermer?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are here today with your attorneys. Have you had a full and complete opportunity to consult with them?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you prepared for your sentencing today?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Counsel, there's no sentence guidelines in this matter due to the conviction offense, but any additions, corrections, or deletions requested in the PSI? Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Honor. We have noticed that there is on page 4 of the pre-sentence report, numerical number 2, that on the morning of January the 7th, a few hours prior to the fire, the residents, Linda Stermer, went to Marathon Station, 437 West Street, Joseph Street, Lawrence, and pumped gasoline in a plastic can. It is the testimony that is incorrect, and that we would question and challenge that there is no evidence that gasoline was being pumped into a plastic can.
Thank you. Ms. Ziderbean or Mr. Blair?
Thank you, Your Honor. We talked about this a little bit. Chambers, I do think it's appropriate to amend it to say that the gasoline was being pumped into the hatch, the rear hatch of the vehicle. There was no testimony about any particular type of can that was seen at the Marathon Station.
Thank you. Ms. Christianti, I'm thinking of this. Counsel, let me know if this satisfies the concern. A few hours prior to the fire at her residence, Linda Stermer went to the Marathon Station, 437 West Street, West St. Joseph Street, Lawrence, period. Then this next sentence would say, a witness saw her pump gasoline into the back hatch of the vehicle,
Why
period.
does that matter now?
And then it would state Linda paid for the gasoline at the pump. Do you see that, Ms. Christianti?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does that work for the defense?
Changing
Those
that.
modifications and the
Change
prosecution?
that before it went to the jury.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Honor, on page 8, under marriage, failing in reference to the relationship that should be removed from the report.
Any objection to removing the name Chris Failing and the information connected with it from the report? Ms. Christianti then will modify under the marriage grid, we'll delete the first block there indicating Chris Failing, former significant other, 64 Coldwater, Michigan, sales manager, Michiana.
They're
Thank you.
taking this out of the,
Anything else, Mr. Kelly?
well, this will make her get a
Page 1 of beginning of the pre-sentence investigation and evaluation plan, they inadvertently forgot to identify the attorneys. All the attorneys will be doing the representation of Mrs. Stermer.
So now it's gonna look like she didn't have an affair because they took Chris out.
Okay, any objection to adding Mr. Kelly and Ms. Neeks to the
If she was
PSI?
pumping them,
So Ms. Christianti, under evaluation and plan, it's the first paragraph. The last sentence states defendant has the benefit of retained attorney Wolfgang Mueller. We could add Mr. Kelly and Ms.
if she was
Neeks.
pumping gas in the
Yeah,
car,
not
she
for
was
nothing, but
pumping it
Mueller's
into
a mutant,
something.
LLER.
She wasn't just pumping it into the car.
And then change the spelling of Wolfgang's last name, Mueller. Anything, any other requested changes? That's it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The first and full name of the attorneys listed or just the last name?
Wow, skip that.
Corrections or deletions sought by the prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do we have victims to speak, or victim representatives to speak? I think we'll do that at this time.
Yes, we have several, Your Honor.
Okay. Maggie, is there Kleenex there, just in case? Okay. Thank you.
Get through this. I'm going to try. It's very short.
Take your time.
I love and miss Todd every day. He was a wonderful son, brother, and father to his 3 sons. It breaks my heart that he didn't live to see what wonderful young men and fathers his sons have become. He would have loved being a grandfather to his 6 grandchildren. Every time I see them, I see him smiling.
Yeah, we can pull up a seat for you. Try to finish what you were reading. Okay. Thank you.
Todd is my brother, and I've been really conflicted about whether I wanted to speak today on his behalf or on all our family's behalf, because nothing I say is really ever going to change. Todd's still gonna be gone. Our lives are still never gonna feel complete again. The hole of him not being here will never be filled. But not speaking or not sharing some of my outrage and pain over his death, not correcting the image that has been painted of Todd, doesn't seem right either. When Linda was let out of prison in 2018, our whole family was in shock. It was incomprehensible to us. These last 6 years that Linda has been out living her life shook my faith in the law and in justice and in all that is right. It's been so hard having to listen to her lies and having her play the victim in this. And every single time I hear her speak, I just think, who's checking that? Who knows? Who's paying attention to what is real and what is not real? Because she's lied so much that it's hard to keep straight. I think if anyone's learned anything at this point is that Linda is incapable of telling the truth. So I'd like people to know that my brother, Todd, was not an awful person. He was definitely not the abusive control freak Linda and her lawyers tried to make him out to be. He was a good guy. He had a great sense of humor. He was kind and funny. He cared about his community and his family and his friends. He was always there if you needed him. They say if you want to know what a guy is really like, watch how he treats his mother. There wasn't anything Todd wouldn't do for Mom. He fully intended to build Mom a place on his property when she was older so he could take care of her. And I have no doubt that he would have done that. It was Todd who showed up with his truck on a Saturday when it was pouring rain to help me move. One of those washout pouring rain days that it's just not gonna let up. Had a whole house to move. Todd drove in from Lawrence. I was delighted to find out he was the only one there to help me move. And you could count on Todd. He was loyal and protective of those he loved. And he was gifted at making the ordinary fun. He was so creative and imaginative. He loved the holidays. He loved just the everyday times that we spent with Todd were just as fun, just as great. Todd liked the classics. He liked Elvis Presley and Johnny Mathis and Randy Travis. He wasn't afraid to show emotions or cry, but he was one of the toughest people I knew. And it would have broke his heart to know that his death ended his son's childhoods and altered all our lives forever. One of the biggest heartbreaks for me to this day is that it's difficult to talk about Todd without talking about how he died. And there is no question that he suffered an excruciating and painful death. There wasn't one person who was there that day who didn't have a hard time talking about his injuries. I can't help but think about what Todd must have been feeling that day he died. What a Herculean effort it took for him to escape that house, to put out the fire engulfing his body, only to have her deliberately run over him with that van. And still he hung on. He was that tough. He was trying so hard to live. And it absolutely kills me to know that hers was probably the last face he saw in this world. Linda's an evil person. She deserves no one's mercy. She should never have been given another trial or let out of prison to start with. But now that she has been found guilty twice of this crime, I hope she will finally go to prison for the rest of her life and we can be done with her. She doesn't deserve the hope of ever being free again. And while I'm normally a compassionate person, I have zero forgiveness in my heart for Linda. And I hope when death comes for her, I hope it is as painful and as agonizing as the one you put Todd through. You deserve it. You are an awful human being.
I just have a short statement from myself, and then I also have a statement from my sister Kathy, who cannot be here today, but asked me to read her statement. My statement's simple. This weekend, rest assured, we're going to be celebrating the holiday in Todd's memory. You'll be in prison. My sister Kathy's statement is such. The picture that she's referring to is on the right with her daughter. This picture was taken the last time I and my two children, then ages 4 and 2, saw my brother Todd alive. It was August of 2006. We were having a family dinner with Todd and his 3 boys and some other family members. We had a wonderful time. There was lots of laughter, silliness, which was usual when Todd was around. Todd was always a favorite with the kids, and my 2 kids adored their Uncle Todd. I think that this is because he had such joy of life and remained in touch with his inner child his whole life. I miss my brother. I think of him every day, and of all we lost when he was taken from our lives so brutally and so unnecessarily. My life and my children's lives are immensely poor for his loss, as are the lives of all his many friends and family members, but especially his 3 children, his boys. They lost their dad as teenagers and have had to go through the difficult years of early adulthood without him there to help guide them. They have grown into adults that I know their father would be proud of. I see Todd in each one of them, especially in their love and their prioritization for their children. We all lost so much when Todd was taken from us, but we have at least some memories of him to help us sustain us. I feel the worst and the sorriest for his grandchildren, who never knew, nor will they ever get to know, their grandfather, who would have adored them. Every time I am blessed with the chance to spend time with Todd's grandchildren, I can't help but feel sad that he never got a chance to meet them and to get to know him. I know he would have been a daily presence and a positive influence in their lives. Todd's death has left a giant hole in my heart and our family, but knowing that the person responsible for taking his life will spend the rest of her life in prison will help us find some peace and some level of closure. When you take into account all the people in whose lives have been made less by this untimely death, 2 life sentences don't seem enough. It's a beginning and it's a start, but it's not enough. For the past 6 years, we have had to live with the emotional and mental stress and pain that she was out of prison. She never should have been there. But knowing that Todd's killer is going behind bars for the rest of her life will provide us some closure at last. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does that conclude the victim statements? Okay, thank you. Defense, anything you wish to say on behalf of your client before I impose sentence?
Your Honor, I would like to say that no matter what I can say, no matter what's been said, the fact that this court has one duty only under the legislature, and that is to impose the sentence that's been mandated by the Michigan State Legislature. And my client, our client, is here to accept the court's imposition of that sentence, and we will move on from that point on.
Thank you.
They fire one time for Jill.
And Mr. Mueller?
Time.
Nothing.
I don't think, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Stermer, anything you wish to say?
Yes, Your Honor.
came to this court filled with hope. Hope that the questions which had been unanswered for so long would finally be answered. That this would finally be proven to all that the tragedy that took Todd from our lives was an accident and not a crime. Today, while I stand before you, innocent and wrongfully convicted, I am prepared for the battle ahead. My husband, my family, my daughters, friends, and legal team remain confident that this conviction will also be overturned.
Thank you. Ms. Seiderbean or Mr. Blair?
Thank you, Your Honor. This family has waited years for their questions to also be answered. And the questions have been answered, Your Honor, by two different juries. We have had 24 people that have now said unanimously that Linder Stermer killed Todd. The questions are answered. I had the pleasure of getting to know this family over the last several years. And it was ups and downs, let me tell you, because they didn't understand. They didn't understand why she was out. They didn't understand why we were going to trial the second time. They didn't understand why these pictures couldn't be up at trial. And they didn't understand why they had to listen to all the defendants' lies about their loved one the entire trial. And then we couldn't say anything. We couldn't say anything. Todd was portrayed in very unfavorable terms through Linda's words. And I promised the family that today was about Todd. That's why these pictures are up here. It's to remember the Todd that is with his children, loving his children, smiling, loving his grandmother, loving his family. That's the Todd that I got to hear about for all of these years that could not be portrayed to this court. It could not be portrayed to the media. And so that's what today is about. It is a celebration of Todd. Now that two juries have found her guilty, Your Honor, we understand we're not arguing for any particular sentence, as we know what the sentence is all going to be. But we really just wanted to take this opportunity to be able to celebrate his life. His boys are remarkable. I've spent a lot of time with them. Their pain is deep. Their pain is deep. The wives that I got to meet of the boys are so supportive and loving and strong, but yet they're supporting of broken men. Men who lost a mother and a father, and who are now then in this role of raising their own families, finding their own way in life, and raising their children without the help of their father. And the person they used to call Mom, now they call Linda. I just asked this court to remember in its elocution if it would also talk about Todd and the things that they heard today, because I think that's what the family would like. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Well, to the family members, first off, I do hope that you have the opportunity for closure, celebrate as much as you can celebrate something like this, but I hope that you do spend this weekend, as you talked about, honoring Todd. And again, hopefully today will bring you some level of closure. Ms. Stermer, you've now had the process that was due to you. You had an extraordinary team of attorneys working on your behalf, not for months, but for years. With ardor, they filed motions and pursued what appeared to be every avenue on your behalf. They brought in experts to undermine and contradict the testimony of the prosecution's experts and to bolster the defense theory of the case. You also had this time around a new prosecution team in this trial and in the years leading up to this trial. From this court's perspective, this prosecution was diligent, thorough, and zealous, but they also played by the rules and worked under the mantra of seeking justice, not just a conviction. All this to say that I'm confident, Ms. Stermer, that you received a fair trial. Murder is by its nature a monstrous deed, but the one you've committed is even more gruesome than most. You lit your husband on fire and burned him alive. When he made it out of the house and you had a chance to reconsider your actions, you instead doubled down and ran him over with your car. I cannot fathom the suffering he endured in his last moments of life. And I cannot fathom the damage you've inflicted on Todd's family, his mother, his siblings, now your grown children, his grown children. You lured them out of the house using one of your many labyrinths of lies. They went to the mall and movie at your request, thinking you'd be discussing divorce details with your victim. And you didn't even allow them to say their customary goodbye to their father before you murdered him. Now they live with not only the murder of their father at the hands of their mother, but the fact that had you not convinced them to leave, you may not have had your window, or at least on that date, to commit your heinous acts. Their testimony was clearly difficult, but it was compelling. Your sons displayed on the stand the courage and strength of character often associated with those who have endured significant trauma. I use the word sons loosely, as they clearly do not recognize you as their mother anymore. Suffice it to say that if there was ever a list of all of the things parents should do on behalf of their children, murdering the other parent would not be on that list. This court is to balance punishment, protection, deterrence, and rehabilitation where possible. I'm hopeful you will engage in programming when returned to the Department of Corrections, programming which may or may not provide some measure of rehabilitation, but only a sentence of life without the possibility of parole can protect others from you and deter others from committing like conduct. And only a sentence of life without the possibility of parole can properly punish you for the heinous acts you've committed in burning your husband alive and in leaving your children with that imprint forever. The sentence of the court is life without the possibility of parole. Credit is 3,367 days. I'm showing that financials have been, mandatory financials have already been paid, so I won't reorder those. And counsel, the judgment will this time state one first-degree murder conviction with the two alternative theories. Is that satisfactory to counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
It's
Okay.
stating like which one.
Well, I'll just put first degree and then put under two alternative theories, either felony murder or premeditated. Does that work? Okay. Ms. Stermer, you have a right to appeal the conviction and sentence. You have a right to ask for a court-appointed attorney to assist you in that appeal if you're financially unable to afford your own. If you do wish to make the request, you need to fill out the paperwork we're getting you now and turn it back into the court within 42 days of today's date. Bond is canceled. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Definitely.
No? Okay, here's your,
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
okay, thank you, everybody.
I'm thinking the same thing, Jill. I'm surprised that my sons didn't. I'm really surprised my sons didn't show up and say anything. Are they even there? She knew this was a possibility, didn't she? At least she didn't do what Sarah Boone did. I mean, it was I'm innocent, but at least it was short. Everybody talking about how it was everybody else's fault but hers. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sarah blamed everybody else but herself. I do think that there was enough circumstantial evidence, but I still would have liked to see the prosecutor have more proof that she set the fire. Like I said, I'm just glad I wasn't on the verdict. On the jury. I got it. Oh yeah, Sarah forgave everybody. She forgave everybody for all the bad acts they did against her, and she made sure to list each and every bad act that they did. Stop, stop. Okay. Sounds like they are done with their break. So we are going to head back over there. I didn't do a portal. I guess I can do a portal real quick. Hang on. I'll do a portal. I'm going to have to make, unless we killed enough time to go through the lunch break, I'm going to have to make another thumbnail. But that's all right. Thank you for joining me for the Linda Stermer sentencing. I appreciate it. If you're not going to go back to Karen Reed with us, thank you for coming out, and I will see you next time. Oh, I can't do it yet. My bad. Because I don't have it set up yet. I don't have it set up yet. I can't talk today. Oh my God, Deborah. I don't have it set up yet. So, oh yeah, she'll definitely try. They all try. Okay, give me a minute while I set up the new thumbnail because I only have an afternoon thumbnail because I don't know why I didn't think about this because I don't plan ahead very well, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. I'm going to do a new thumbnail for Karen Reed really quick. We're not going to miss anything. I promise you we're not going to miss anything. So I will see you at Karen Reed, but I can't portal, so you're going to have to find it. Make sure your notifications are on. Okay? Bye, loves. I will see you over there in a minute.